would you grade the Biden administration's response to this situation so far?
Well, as to the balloon itself, the one that came across the continental United States, I think they made an enormous mistake. An enormous mistake for two reasons. One, I don't know what it collected. I'm not privy to that. I don't know what signals intelligence it may have had. I don't know what imagery it may have been able to garner. They say they were able to shut it down. I don't know what's right. But regardless of that, the Chinese Communist Party gained an enormous geopolitical advantage. The whole world saw a slow-moving balloon transiting Montana, Kansas, South Carolina, and the United States of America did nothing. Imagine you're Taiwan for just a second, and the President of the United States doesn't take down a balloon over Montana. Do you think you have more or less likelihood that President Biden will actually honor the commitment he made to defend Taiwan?
So you see it as the real damage, in addition to what intelligence it may or may not have collected,
right,
to be a symbolic or a propaganda win, as it were, for the Chinese?
Of course. Massively. It's not symbolic. They violated American sovereignty for 5 days. They penetrated our airspace. And we did, and by the way, and we detected it. I suppose it's always one thing if it's undetected, but we detected it. The whole world watched, and we did nothing. I am confident that in capitals all across the world, our friends were saying, what on earth is going on? And our adversaries were saying, green light.
And the Biden administration's argument is that shooting it down over land would have perhaps risked accidental injury or worse to Americans. You don't buy that, obviously.
Well, I talk in my book, Never Give an Inch, a lot about risk. There's always risk. Indeed, there's risk in doing nothing. And in my judgment, the risk, and by the way, they've now shut down other things subsequent to that, suggesting maybe that risk wasn't as great as they portrayed it as being early on. But I don't know. I don't know what the judgment was about that. But I can't imagine that the risk of some falling debris over a place like Montana exceeded the risk of global shame, right? And this is real. Weakness is provocative now. This is what I think the Biden administration fails to understand. In Ukraine, they didn't get it either. They didn't understand that, boy, if you show you're weak, if you talk about a minor incursion being okay, you are sending a signal in the heads of Vladimir Putin, or in this case, Xi Jinping, saying, boy, you can push these guys around, and that's bad for the American people.
I want to get to some of those bigger themes of the book in a second, but I think there is genuine confusion that perhaps you can clear up. There has been reporting that 3 times during the Trump administration, Chinese balloons were at least in American airspace. Were you aware of that?
No, and they've admitted that now.
And
by the way, just so you know, their first story was different. They have now had to reload this story, to be very polite, as my best diplomatic language. They have had to reload this story multiple times now. They've originally said this happened in the Trump administration, hinting that somehow we'd failed in the same way that they had failed. We all came out and said we didn't know anything about it. They have now confirmed that we didn't know anything about it. And they've also confirmed it wasn't what happened here. So this wasn't a slow-moving balloon traveling across the... No, this is very important, because you're bringing it up too. And this is exactly what the Biden administration wants you talking about. Look over here, see this shiny object, Trump, Trump, Trump. Right? This wasn't remotely the same thing. We were, as best I can tell, no one was aware. And this is fundamentally different from what has transpired over the past 2 weeks now.